9 times. 9 times I tried to marry the same woman. And 9 times we had failed. I stood in the downpour, staring at my phone, a sense of hopelessness washing over me. I called her again. Chloe, I'd say my voice tight. If we hit 10, and I turn into some kind of monster, a cold-blooded shell of myself, will you feel even a flicker of regret? She didn't answer my question. I heard a sigh, the rustle of papers. Something's come up, Cole, she'd said, her tone laced with that familiar impatience. I have to deal with it. We'll get the license next time, I promise. Looking at her profile picture, that earnest face I knew so well, I just nodded to myself. In the end, I wouldn't become Chloe Evans's husband, and the system would take my emotions as payment. I would live free and unbothered, never again moved by another person. But Chloe, she would be the one with reddened eyes, chasing my car in a wedding dress, pounding on the window in the pouring rain and screaming, "You're not Cole. He would never be this cold to me. Tell him I love him. I'm ready to marry him. Please, just give me my Cole back." But she would never know. The man I used to be. Even I can't quite remember him anymore. We had agreed to try for the 10th time today. She stood me up again. I was the only one left, standing alone outside the Cook County Clerk's office, anxiously staring at my phone screen. "Are you still coming?" I texted. I called countless times, but every call went straight to voicemail. I watched the sky turn from the pale gray of dawn to the bruised purple of dusk. I felt the warmth in my heart flicker and die. I stood there until the clouds burst and a torrential rain began to fall. Only then did a message from Chloe finally appear. "Cole, I'm so sorry. A critical meeting just ran long. Let's just call it for today. Go home and get some rest. We'll definitely do it next month." I swear. Next month? Always next month. I'd lost count of how many times I'd heard that same empty promise. I stared at the cold text on the screen and let out a bitter laugh. Raindrops splattered on the glass, causing it to glitch and open a link to a local news site. And there she was. The photo showed Chloe Evans and Ethan Scott at the Nova concert at the United Center. They were huddled together under a clear plastic poncho, their faces glowing under the neon lights. Chloe was beaming, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Ethan was looking at her with an expression of pure adoration, his gaze fixed on her. They were sharing a microphone, singing along with Nova to her hit song, Crossroads. I hear the wind from the subway and the crowd. I'm standing in line, holding a ticket for love. The familiar melody drifted from my phone, but my heart felt like it had been plunged into ice. So this was her critical meeting. After all these years, I still couldn't warm her heart. A bitter montage of memories played in my mind. The last time she canceled, it was to go with Ethan to a gala. The time before that, Ethan had a fever, and she had to take him to urgent care. The reasons for all the other times blurred together, but they all had one thing in common. Ethan. Anything involving him was more important than our marriage. Just like the song said, I'm standing in line, holding a ticket for love. But no matter how hard I tried, I could never get to the front of the line. My face was eerily calm. No questions. No anger. I just typed back a simple reply. Okay, got it. But Chloe, your 10 chances are all used up. There won't be a next time. In my mind, a system alert blared with piercing intensity. Warning, host's 10th attempt has failed. Extraction of all emotions and desires will commence in 24 hours. Soaked to the bone, I walked past the concert arena. Icy rainwater dripped from my hair, seeping into my clothes, but my heart was colder than the storm. In 24 hours, I would lose my capacity for joy, sorrow, love, and hate. Would I even be me anymore? I didn't know. Maybe it was a release for both of us. Suddenly, I saw them, Chloe and Ethan, walking out of an exit, their hands tightly clasped. She was wearing a white dress that seemed to glow in the rain. He had a smug, triumphant look on his face. My heart seized. Our eyes met. I saw a flash of panic in hers before it was replaced by a cool composure. When Ethan saw me, he jumped, startled. He stumbled backward, bumping into a man walking behind him and splashing the man's coat with rainwater. "Hey, watch where you're going," the man yelled. Ethan turned to Chloe, his face a mask of distress. "Chloe, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I just saw Cole, and I was afraid he'd get the wrong idea. So I tried to give you some space, and I accidentally bumped into someone." Chloe's brow furrowed, and she shot me a cold look. "Cole, apologize to him." I froze, unable to believe what I was hearing. Ethan was the one who bumped into the man. Why should I have to apologize? A crowd was starting to form, their whispers a low hum beneath the drumming rain. People were pointing, shaking their heads. I could feel their pity in the way they looked at me. The rain fell harder, as if trying to extinguish the last ember of hope in my soul. I just stood there, letting the storm drench me. "You're the one who startled Ethan," Chloe said, her tone casual, as if discussing the weather. It's only right that you apologize. Her voice was light, as if this were a trivial matter. Besides, Ethan is like a little brother to me. It's no big deal for you to do this for him. I remained silent, a storm of emotions churning inside me. Seeing my silence, Chloe's delicate eyebrows knitted together even more tightly. Apologize, she said, her voice turning to ice, and I'll go with you to get the marriage license tomorrow. A laugh escaped my lips, hollow and humorless. So that was it. Our marriage was now just a bargaining chip she could use to threaten me. A wave of exhaustion washed over me. For 3 years, I had bent to her every whim, and this was my reward. I looked at her serious face and spoke slowly, my voice even. Chloe, do you really think I can't live without you? Her expression faltered. She was clearly stunned, not expecting those words from me. In the 3 years we'd been together, I had never once raised my voice to her about our relationship. I had always believed that if I was patient enough, tolerant enough, Chloe would eventually come around. But I was wrong. So incredibly wrong. Every concession I made wasn't met with understanding, but with her pushing the boundaries even further. Including now. She had lied about being in a meeting, snuck off to a concert with Ethan, and now stood there defiant, without a single word of explanation. Seeing me angry, Ethan quickly jumped in. Cole, man, it's my fault. Don't be mad at Chloe. I'll apologize to the guy right now. He turned to do just that, but Chloe grabbed his arm, stopping him. Her eyes were still locked on me, rainwater tracing paths down her cheeks. Cole, she said, her voice dangerously quiet. Do you still want to get married or not? A smirk played on Ethan's lips as he listened to Chloe, his eyes darting between us with a flicker of provocation. Chloe didn't seem to notice. I stared at her determined face, and a profound weariness settled deep in my bones. I know, Chloe, I said, my voice soft but every word a razor's edge. You never wanted to marry me. You don't have to keep lying to yourself. The expression on her face froze. She looked at me in shock, a hint of panic in her eyes. I didn't look at her again. I wiped the rain from my face and turned to walk away. Behind me, I heard Ethan's phony voice call out, Cole, wait. Chloe stopped him with a cold command. Let him go. Her voice carried clearly through the rain. He's trying to pull this power play before we're even married. Imagine what a tyrant he'd be after we signed the papers. Her words reached me, sharp and clear. Ethan immediately chimed in. Chloe, I don't think he's that kind of guy. But what if he really breaks up with you? I heard Chloe let out a small laugh, laced with arrogance. He won't. He loves me too much. He wouldn't dare. The rain was a deluge now. I walked down the street, letting the cold sheets of water slap against my face. Pedestrians hurried past, their faces hidden under umbrellas, no one noticing the lonely figure being erased by the storm. You're wrong, Chloe. We're not getting married. There is no after. I dragged my exhausted body home. My soaked clothes clung to my skin, cold and sharp. I glanced at my phone. 18 hours left. In 18 hours, it would all be over. I collapsed onto the bed, my body burning. I had a fever. As my head spun, a small paper bag was tossed onto the bed in front of me. I forced my head up and saw Chloe standing there. The bag was from that artisan bakery I loved, the one she used to wait in line for 2 hours for whenever they had a new pastry. I always told her it wasn't worth the trouble, that I could live without it. But she would always smile and say, if it's something you love, it's worth any wait. I remembered those days, sitting in a small cafe, eating the warm pastries. The steam would flush her cheeks pink, and her eyes would be full of laughter. We'd look at each other and smile, as if the whole world was as sweet as that moment. How happy I was then. Now, the memory was just a cruel irony. With a trembling hand, I took the bag and opened it. Inside weren't pastries. It was a few articles of men's clothing. I struggled to keep my breathing steady. I looked at Chloe. What is this? It's Ethan's, she said dismissively. He really likes this outfit. Just hand wash it for him. And don't get any ideas. We're just friends, like brother and sister. Stop being so sensitive. We'll go to City Hall first thing in the morning and get the license. I stared at her, 1,000 words caught in my throat. In the end, they dissolved into one quiet sentence. We don't have to, Chloe. Let's just break up. But just then, her phone rang. She glanced at the screen, a flicker of anxiety in her eyes. It was obvious she hadn't heard a word I said. The same carelessness she always showed me. Chloe stepped out onto the balcony to take the call. Chloe, these pastries are amazing. Ethan's voice was audible even from here. Her tone was indulgent. I'm glad you like them. I just feel bad you had to wait in line so long for me. By the way, is it really okay to make Cole wash my clothes? Chloe laughed softly. You're your parents' precious boy. You've been coddled your whole life. It's not like Cole. He's used to doing chores like that. It's fine. Her words stabbed into me, and my eyes began to burn. So she knew. She knew all the menial things I did for her. But she'd forgotten that I had parents, too. What would they think if they knew how I'd humbled myself for her? Would their hearts break, too? It's okay. In 15 hours, this will all be over. Lying in bed, my phone buzzed. It was a message from an old friend I hadn't heard from in ages. Cole, I'm back in the States. It's been too long. We gotta get together. Bring Chloe. I'd love to finally meet her. I stared at the screen for a long time. Flashes of the past lit up my mind. Nights spent drinking with my friends, talking about the future. Back then, I was full of hope, certain Chloe and I would grow old together. And now? I shook my head, a bitter smile on my lips, my eyes growing moist. Chloe came back in from the balcony. Cole, something came up at work. I have to go back to the office. I said without lifting my head. She frowned. Wait for me. I'll be back before midnight, I promise. We'll go get the license first thing in the morning. With that, she left without a backward glance. The sound of her high heels echoed down the hallway, fading into the distance. It was 10 o'clock, 2 hours until midnight, and 15 hours until the system's penalty. I replied to my friend, maybe next time, man. I'm not feeling great. And besides, Chloe and I broke up. His reply was instant. What? When did that happen? I thought you were crazy about her. I looked at his message. Was I really in love with Chloe? Maybe I was once upon a time. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Just then, I saw a new post on an Instagram story from one of Chloe's junior employees. So bored. This whole huge office, and I'm the only one here. Can anyone else relate to the overtime grind? Then I swiped to the next story. It was from Ethan. Having a great boss is so important. One who still makes you food, even when you're sick with a fever. The accompanying photo was of Chloe, wearing an apron, busy at a stove in a sleek, modern kitchen. My heart clenched, as if a sharp object had just been shoved into it. How about that? In all these years, I never knew Chloe could be such a domestic goddess. Turns out she would cook for someone, just not for me. I put my phone on silent, tossed it aside, and told myself to get some rest. As I closed my eyes, I felt something wet slide from the corners. Sometime after that, I fell into a deep, troubled sleep. When I opened my eyes again, sunlight was streaming through a crack in the curtains. I stretched, my hand instinctively reaching for the other side of the bed. Empty, of course. Chloe hadn't come back last night either. I picked up my phone. There was a single text from her. Cole, Ethan's fever got worse last night, so I stayed to look after him. I'm heading back now. We can still make it to City Hall. I checked the time. Less than 30 minutes until the system's punishment. I stared at the screen, a bitter taste in my mouth. Taking a deep breath, I calmly typed a reply. It's okay, Chloe. You don't have to come back. My thumb hovered over the send button. I hesitated. This might be the last conversation I ever have while still capable of feeling. A strange, sour sadness rose in my chest. I pressed send. Almost instantly, my phone rang. It was Chloe. I watched the screen light up, and I let it ring. Then came another call, and another. A relentless barrage. Annoyed, I simply blocked her number. Her text started coming through immediately, a torrent of them. Cole, what is wrong with you? Are you being petty again? I told you a million times. I think of Ethan as a little brother. Can't you be a little more understanding? When I didn't reply, her tone shifted, a rare concession. Whatever it is, we can talk about it when I get home. I could almost picture her gritting her teeth as she typed that. While I still could, I sent a message to my parents. Mom, Dad, I was wrong. I've decided to come home. Their reply came quickly, a voice message. You brat. Finally remembering you have parents after all that time chasing a girl. We're waiting for you. Come home for lunch. Listening to their voices, my nose stung. At least I still had a family that loved me. Suddenly, a piercing alarm screamed in my head. Warning, 24-hour countdown complete. Initiating extraction of host's emotions and desires. A bitter smile touched my lips. So it's here. It's finally over. An excruciating pain erupted at the crown of my head, as if someone was cracking my skull with a blunt instrument. I curled into a ball on the bed, drenched in a cold sweat. It felt like 1,000 knives were slicing through me, every cell in my body, screaming. I felt my soul being torn apart, piece by piece. I wanted to scream, but no sound would come out. I don't know how long it lasted. But then, the pain was gone. I opened my eyes. The world looked the same, but it had changed completely. The colors were there, but they held no warmth. The sounds were clear, but they had no meaning. I couldn't feel sadness, anger, love, guilt, joy. Even hunger and exhaustion were just biological signals. I stood up and looked around the apartment. This place, once filled with memories, was now just a collection of meaningless objects. Just as I was about to leave this familiar, yet alien, home forever, the lock clicked. The door opened. Chloe burst in, her eyes blazing with a mixture of anger and confusion. Cole, what the hell is your problem? She demanded, her voice trembling slightly. I turned to face her, my expression perfectly calm. We're breaking up. She froze, her eyes widening in disbelief. What did you just say? I had a work thing. It's not like I wasn't going to marry you. Is that seriously what this is about? I watched her, my gaze steady. It doesn't matter. A breakup is not a major event. Her brow furrowed, her delicate hands clenching into tight fists, knuckles white. You'll regret this. I didn't answer. I just turned to leave. Cole, her voice called after me, laced with desperation and fury. If you walk out that door, we are done. There's no coming back from this. Chloe, we were already done. I walked out one step after another. Chloe stood rooted to the spot, watching me go. Her eyes were red, and she bit her lower lip, fighting back tears. I heard a choked sob behind me, but I was incapable of responding. Chloe's hands twisted the fabric of her dress. Her anger morphed into bewilderment, then into a gnawing unease. She had imagined us breaking up countless times, always picturing herself being able to walk away with a casual shrug. But now, her heart felt like it was being shredded. She forced herself to be calm. Cole loves me too much. He can never really leave me. Once he cools down, he'll be back trying to smooth things over. She was trying to convince herself. Chloe sank onto the sofa, pulling out her phone and staring at the screen. Her thumbs swiped back and forth, but no new messages from me appeared. 1 minute, 10 minutes, half an hour passed. Her brow tightened, and a sheen of sweat appeared on her forehead. She took a deep breath and let it out slowly. She stood up and began pacing the room, her footsteps echoing in the quiet apartment. She kept glancing at her phone. The old Cole would never have ignored her like this. Anxious and agitated, she sat back down, her hands rubbing restlessly against her pants. She took several deep breaths, trying to calm the rising panic, but only grew stronger. Her fingers trembled as she finally picked up her phone again. She bit her lip and typed out a message. Cole, where are you? She stared at the screen after sending it, her heart pounding against her ribs. A few seconds later, she quickly typed another line. I know I was wrong. I'll keep my distance from Ethan. Chloe stared intently at her phone screen, her heart hammering against her ribs as if trying to escape her chest. The messages she had sent sat there, unanswered, like stones dropped into a bottomless well. A minute passed, then 2, then 3. Biting her lip, she typed another message with trembling fingers. I'll cut Ethan out of my life completely. Is that what you want? She hit send, held her breath, and waited. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. She scrambled to open the message. A bold, red not delivered notification glowed beneath her last text. Her eyes widened. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. How could this happen? She whispered, her voice filled with panic. The phone slipped from her grasp, hitting the floor with a dull thud. She didn't bother to pick it up. She shot to her feet, her legs buckling beneath her. Grabbing onto a table to steady herself, she gasped for air. No, I have to find him. Her eyes darted around the room and landed on the car keys sitting on the coffee table. She lurched forward and snatched them. Just then, her phone buzzed again. She glanced down. It was a message from Ethan. Chloe, you promised you'd go to Iceland with me to see the Northern Lights. When are we leaving? She frowned and tapped out a quick reply. Trip's off. Without waiting for his response, she shoved the phone in her pocket, grabbed the keys, and hurried to the door. Her hand on the doorknob, she took a deep breath. Cole, please be home. Please. She whispered a prayer and left. Chloe drove to the sprawling estate in Lake Forest where my parents lived, her heart pounding like a drum. Her fingers trembled as she pressed the doorbell. Every second she waited felt like an eternity. Finally, the door opened. A middle-aged woman in a housekeeper's uniform, someone Chloe had never seen before, looked her up and down with a wary expression. Can I help you? Chloe took a breath, trying to keep her voice steady. I'm here to see Cole. The housekeeper frowned and turned to go back inside. Chloe stood on the doorstep, wringing her hands. A moment later, I appeared at the door. My gaze swept over her, cold and distant. Is there something you need? My tone was terrifyingly placid, as if she were a complete stranger who had rung the wrong bell. Chloe opened her mouth, but no words came out. I just looked at her, my face a mask of indifference, devoid of joy or sorrow. Just then, a warm, female voice came from inside the house. Honey, who is it? My mother walked to the door. Her eyes landed on Chloe, filled with curiosity and scrutiny. It's nothing, I said blandly. Just an old acquaintance. Chloe felt her heart get squeezed tight in a vice. My mother looked from Chloe to me, her expression growing more complex. Is this Chloe Evans? Chloe managed a nod and forced a smile. Hello, Mrs. Matthews. My mother sighed. Well, let the girl come in for a minute, she said to me. I didn't move. I just kept my cold eyes fixed on Chloe. That won't be necessary, but there are some things that do need to be sorted out. I pushed open the glass door of the coffee shop, a wave of cool air washing over me. The place was quiet, with only a few scattered customers. I chose a table by the window and ordered a black coffee. Chloe hurried in after me, looking impeccable in a white dress and flawless makeup. You could have waited for me. I shook my head, a silent gesture indicating it didn't matter. Her eyes searched my face, trying to read something, anything, in my expression. But there was nothing there to read. Cole, what? What did you want to sort out? I didn't answer her directly. Instead, I took a large manila envelope from my bag and pushed it across the table toward her. She looked at me, confused. What's this? Open it, I said calmly. Chloe carefully opened the envelope and pulled out a set of keys. She stared at them, stunned. These are the spare keys to my apartment? I nodded. Also in there is an itemized list of everything you left at my place, every gift you ever gave me, and a complete financial ledger of our relationship. Her hand trembled slightly as she looked at the spreadsheet, a document so detailed it accounted for every single coffee we'd ever shared. Her voice shook. Cole, what is the meaning of this? I lifted my cup, took a sip of the bitter coffee, and said, just tying up loose ends. Chloe's eyes reddened. What? What's happened to you? Why are you suddenly like this? I put the cup down and looked directly into her eyes. Nothing's happened. I just felt it was time for a clean slate. I slid a debit card across the table. That was the final blow. Chloe stared at the card, her mind reeling in disbelief. Her voice trembled, full of confusion. Cole? What? What's wrong? Have you lost your mind? I looked at her coolly. That's the final balance of all financial transactions between us. Chloe shot to her feet, the chair screeching against the floor. Her voice was thick with tears. Are you really breaking up with me? I didn't answer. I just watched her impassively. Her hand gripped the debit card so tightly her knuckles turned white. Tears finally streamed down her face, carving paths through her perfect makeup. Cole, we've been together for 5 years. Are you just throwing it all away? I stood up, my gaze as cold as if I were looking at a stranger. All business is concluded. Ms. Evans, we're even. Please don't contact me again. I wish you well. I looked at her pale, devastated face and felt nothing. Without another word, I turned and walked away. I could hear her sobbing behind me, but I didn't look back, leaving her clutching the cold plastic card, her world collapsing around her. No, this can't be, she whispered. Cole loves me. He must just be trying to scare me. I walked through the front door of my parents' house, the familiar scent of home greeting me. My mom was busy in the kitchen and poked her head out when she heard me. Cole, you're back. Go wash up. Dinner's almost ready. I nodded and went to the bathroom. The man in the mirror was a blank slate. I dried my hands and walked into the living room. My dad was sitting on the sofa reading the paper. He lowered it when he saw me and smiled. Son, so what's the plan now? I sat down across from him, my voice even. Dad, I've decided to take over the family business. My parents froze. Mom came out of the kitchen holding a platter, her eyes wide with surprise. Cole, what did you just say? I want to run the business, I repeated. My dad frowned. But you've never shown any interest in it before. I'm older now, I said simply. It's time I took on my responsibilities. Mom put the platter down and came over to me, placing a hand on my forehead. Honey, are you feeling okay? You don't have a fever, do you? I gently moved her hand away. Mom, I'm fine. My parents exchanged a confused look. I stood up and spoke with a new gravity. Mom, Dad, from now on, I'll take care of this family. You two should just relax and enjoy your lives. My mother's eyes reddened, and she threw her arms around me. Oh, Cole, you've really grown up. My dad stood up too, clapping me on the shoulder, his voice thick with emotion. That's my boy. I'm so proud of you. I stood there woodenly, allowing them to hug me. Back at the coffee shop, Chloe was still sitting in the corner. Sunlight streamed through the large window, illuminating her pale face. She stared down at the debit card in her hand, murmuring to herself, this isn't real. None of this is real. A waiter came to clear the table, giving her a concerned look. Chloe didn't seem to notice, just mechanically repeating those same words. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out, Chloe. She looked up to see Ethan, breathless and frantic. His forehead was beaded with sweat, and his eyes were full of worry. Chloe, I've been looking everywhere for you. She just stared at him, speechless. Ethan sat down across from her, his voice full of concern. Chloe, are you okay? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. She thought she would be happy to see him, but all she felt was a profound emptiness. She looked down, her fingers tracing invisible patterns on the table. In her mind, Cole's face kept appearing, his deep eyes, his gentle smile. She closed her eyes and took a shaky breath. Chloe. Ethan's voice pulled her back to reality. She looked up, forcing a weak smile. I'm fine. He frowned, his concern deepening. You look terrible. Are you sick? She shook her head, her voice hoarse. Ethan, we need to talk. He looked surprised, but nodded. Okay, Chloe. She took a deep breath and looked him straight in the eye. Starting today, I don't want you to come to the office anymore. Ethan's eyes widened in disbelief. Chloe, what are you saying? She turned her head away, her voice cold. I'm saying you're fired. He shot to his feet, agitated. Why? What did I do wrong? She closed her eyes, her tone final. There's no why. I just want to cut all ties with you. Ethan's face went pale, his voice trembling. Chloe, please. Ms. Evans, don't make me leave. He dropped to his knees, grabbing her hand. I don't need anything. I just want to be near you. She pulled her hand away. No, you're fired. He looked as if he'd been struck by lightning, slumping to the floor. Chloe stood up and walked out of the coffee shop without a backward glance. The sunlight was blinding, and she squinted. Behind her, she heard Ethan's enraged roar. It's because of him, isn't it? Because of Cole, he screamed. But I love you too. Anything he can do, I can do. Chloe's steps faltered for a second, but she didn't turn back. No, you're not the same. You could never be him. Ethan's eyes narrowed with malice as he muttered under his breath. Then you leave me no choice. Chloe returned to her apartment like a ghost, her steps unsteady, her body swaying. The living room was exactly as she'd left it. The photo of us hung on the wall, our smiles bright and full of life. The little teddy bear I'd given her still sat on the coffee table. She collapsed onto the sofa, her gaze vacant. Her mind uncontrollably replayed scenes of me, always tolerating her whims. Me, showing up outside her office right on time when she worked late. Me, sitting by her bedside when she was sick. Me, solving her company's problems without a second thought. And what did she do? She had thrown away our 10th and final chance to get married. The look of despair in my eyes each time she canceled now felt like a knife twisting in her heart. She curled up on the sofa and pulled out her phone. The screen displayed a long list of unanswered calls to my number. A pain, sharp and visceral, tore through her chest. Regret washed over her like a tidal wave. Tears, hot and silent, soaked her cheeks. She whispered to the empty room, I think I really lost him. She immediately shook her head, denying it. No, I don't believe it. She repeated stubbornly. Cole still loves me. I don't believe he doesn't love me. Clenching her fists, she made a resolution. I have to find him. I have to beg him to forgive me. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie, my eyes empty. At the business gala, glasses clinked, and the air was thick with perfume and ambition. A group of executives in tailored suits surrounded me. Mr. Matthews, a pleasure to finally meet you. So young and already so successful, truly impressive. Come, Mr. Matthews, let me toast to your success. I raised my glass mechanically, a hollow smile plastered on my face. Inside, I felt nothing. Suddenly, there was a commotion at the entrance. I looked up and saw Ethan, his face contorted with rage, charging into the room. He was holding a knife, its blade gleaming under the chandeliers, and he was coming straight for me. Cole, give me back Chloe. I stood my ground, my expression cold. At that exact moment, Chloe rushed in as well. No, don't hurt him, she screamed, her face pale, her voice trembling. Ethan froze for a second, then roared. You bitch. You tramp. I was so good to you. Why can't you forget about him? His eyes were wild with madness. He raised the knife to strike. I watched him, my gaze frigid. In the split second before he lunged, I kicked out, my foot connecting squarely with his stomach. He crumpled to the ground, the knife clattering across the marble floor. Security guards swarmed him immediately, pinning him down. As they dragged him away, I watched with a cold smile. He had no idea he had just reached the end of his rope. Cole, Mr. Matthews, sir, please, I'm sorry, forgive me. I was wrong. Ethan wailed, his pleas shrill and pathetic. Chloe ran to my side. Are you okay? Are you hurt? She asked urgently. I took a silent step back, putting distance between us. She froze, her eyes meeting mine. My gaze was a frozen lake, empty, calm, without a single ripple of emotion. Not even hatred for her. I spoke slowly, my voice flat. Let it go, Chloe. I really don't love you anymore. After that night, it was like Chloe became a different person. She shed every last scrap of her pride and began a clumsy, desperate campaign of atonement. Every morning, when I arrived at the office, she would be standing there on the sidewalk. Rain or shine, she was always in the same white trench coat, holding a thermos. Cole, I brought you breakfast. She would approach cautiously, her eyes full of hope. I would walk past her without a word, without even a glance. The security guard, finally fed up, would yell at her. Miss, you need to leave. You can't loiter here and disturb our business. Chloe would bite her lip, a panicked look in her eyes, and plead, Please, just let me wait a little longer. Go, 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 the guard would say, waving his hands dismissively. If you don't leave now, we're calling the police. I'd watch from my office window as she was pushed away, slumping onto the curb to wipe her tears. I felt nothing. At noon, I'd step out of the elevator to see the receptionist looking uncomfortable. Mr. Matthews, that woman Ms. Evans is back. She says she has lunch for you. Throw it out, I'd say, my face a mask of indifference. The receptionist would hesitate, then do as I said. Chloe would stand in the lobby and watch as the meal she had carefully prepared was scraped into a trash can. She would finally break, sinking to the floor and sobbing uncontrollably. Cole, what do I have to do? To get you back? To make you even look at me again? I would walk right past her, my voice calm. Please leave. You're creating a scene. The next day, a long, handwritten letter appeared on my desk. Chloe's handwriting was neat and elegant, a multi-page confession filled with thousands of words of regret. I read it from beginning to end. Acknowledged, thank you, I told her. Then I fed the letter into the shredder. Tears fell from her eyes, splashing onto the floor. She curled into a ball in the corner of my office like a lost child. I watched it all, my expression unchanged, my heart still. Just then, the sky outside turned black. Lightning flashed and thunder cracked. A torrential downpour began, instantly soaking Chloe's thin frame when she finally left the building. I simply turned and went back to my work, leaving her to cry alone in the storm. Hours later, I was ready to go home. As I pushed open the main doors of the office building, a figure in white caught my eye. Chloe was soaked to the skin, her makeup a mess. She was wearing a pure, white wedding dress, shivering in the violent storm. The moment she saw me, she ran toward me. Her voice was a raw rasp. Husband, please, let me marry you. Please. She fell to her knees on the wet pavement, her hands clutching at my pant legs. I'll do anything, anything at all, if you'll just forgive me. Her tears mixed with the rain, streaming down her face. I looked down at her, my face impassive, and gently pried her hands off me. I walked to my car without another word. She stumbled after me, pounding on the car window through the deluge. You're not Cole. He would never be this cold to me. She screamed, her voice cracking. You tell Cole that I love him, that I'm ready to marry him. Please, just give me my Cole back. Her cries were audible through the glass, but they couldn't move me. I started the engine and slowly pulled away from the curb. In the rearview mirror, I saw her figure grow smaller and smaller. And in my mind, for the first time, a flicker of an emotion surfaced. It was annoyance. Disgust. Yes, I was sure of it. I felt an actual emotion of revulsion. My brow twitched. Perhaps, with enough time, my emotions really could return. And then my car, pushing through the storm, disappeared into the night.